Welcome back, everyone. Time for Game 3 between Rogue and Fnatic, fighting for the honor to fight G2 tomorrow in this packed arena in Malmö. As the players are making their way back to the stage, we are going to dive into the plans, into the strategy, into the picks and bans right here at the desk. But of course, we have some time because they're not even sat yet, Broxah. So you both have been in this situation, right? That you are in a big stage. What is it like to walk through the crowd, kind of see the faces, and know you've got a big task ahead?
I think it's always nice being in this position where, you know, a 1-1 is kind of like starting from scratch. You know that you can still take a gamble, you can still go for something refreshing and new, because even if it goes wrong, you can still, you know, go back to comfort later. And I think that comfort is going to be really, really nice for both teams here, being in this scenario.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it's amazing to play in a place like this, but when I've played my own series, I've always felt like I'm just so into the League of Legends aspects, I don't really get to cherish what's going on around me. But now that I'm here, it's very nice.
Yeah. Actually, when we were watching the match history of the Tristana pentakill, your cam was just like,
yeah, you're so into it.
It's like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what all these guys are doing too. They have their eyes on the prize. So talking about the prize, let's start theorizing about picks and bans with Fnatic on the red side. Rehash it for us, Broxah. What do we think the choices are going to be?
So the interesting part is that Fnatic choosing red side kind of tells me that they want to run it back, because blue side is highly prioritized by most teams right now, and I think Fnatic is pretty happy with how the draft went. Like, again, they had really good scaling. All they had to do was to slow down the game, and, you know, then eventually they could come back, but they were just a bit over-eager, and eventually Rogue got too far ahead.
I do think they could make it much better, though, if they did change their 4-5. Instead of banning the Ornn, I would, for example, pick it myself, or force the enemy to pick Ornn and then pick something that's more stable in the top lane. Because I think by blind picking the Aatrox, you make it really volatile in the top lane, which makes scaling much harder. And then with the defensive mid pick, I also feel like, as I mentioned, Larssen just gets to be his best self. So I would like to put, if I was Fnatic, I would like to put much more pressure on Larssen and maybe make top lane a more stable matchup. If
you're the Fnatic AD carry here, let's say you're opposite, do you think there's a chance you would want to, you know, ban the Lucian away?
Yeah, so there is one idea I have, that either you ban the Lucian now, or you drop the Talia ban, because the Talia ban is a little bit strange to me. I don't really know where it even came from, because they didn't play it in game 1 and they didn't ban it in game 1, but they decided to ban it in game 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you could replace it with a Lucian, or in my opinion, you could ban some of the mid laners from Larssen, or create a mid matchup for yourself that you can pick early. Because I think finding a third pick for Humanoid must be priority here.
In that regard, of course, Talia has been extremely strong when we have seen her in the playoffs so far. But it will be left to be seen what we go for. Is there an expectation of big changes in terms of bans also from the side of Fnatic, or do you agree with Martin that they are going to try to run it back mostly?
Well, so far Fnatic has banned, or at least last draft, they banned Kalista, Seer, and Talia. And I think out of those, if you want to drop one, it has to be Talia. Because Kalista and Seer, they're too strong for Rogue. You can't give them away. But Talia, yeah.
And also Azir is one of Larssen's picks. So then you could, for example, ban the Viktor instead of the Talia, or ban the Lucian now. I personally would just run it back, because I don't think the first 3 is the problem. I think the 4-5 is where you need to change something up, and I would either go for the tank myself, let them pick the tank and pick a stable matchup into that, or somehow make bans so that Humanoid is happy. Now they go for the Lucian ban.
Yeah, and I think, you know, again, we just talked about it, dropping Talia, banning Lucian, change up the bot matchup, and making sure that Rogue aren't able to pressure through that bot lane, which was so important for them. Taking the Zeri away, of course, makes sense. Sure, they banned Yuumi, meaning they're not going to have that, but there's enchanters available, and you can still have a Zeri that's going to shine.
I actually think picking Zeri there is a mistake, because Yuumi is banned, so the only enchanter left that you really want to play with the Sivir-Zeri matchup is the Lulu. So I think you should have first picked Lulu here, because you get the Zeri or the Sivir on the 2-3. Meanwhile now, what support do you play? You know Sivir is coming on 3. What support do you play?
Well,
you want to pick an enchanter, but there's not really a good one.
What would you want?
Well, since you know the Sivir is coming, I think something like Nautilus is a mistake. You can't pick anything that is being blocked by the spell shield. So you can.
That's not a lot.
I think you probably just skip support actually and go one of the topper mids now, because there's no good support to pick anyway. So you might as well go for 5 with that.
Yeah, is it because of the Sivir likely coming out, or is it because
yeah, you know it's
think,
coming? It has to be coming.
And
yeah,
for Zeri, you want a distinct pairing, and it's actually not that much.
So normally a Nautilus here would make sense, but since Sivir is coming, who is really good into Nautilus, I would not go for that. usually Alistar was the pick into Sivir, so you could just pick that now, but I also think that has no purpose, so I would go top mid, yeah, which they did now.
Yeah, and Trundle again, I know you guys were happy about that last time around.
Yeah, I think Trundle and Poppy are just by far the two strongest junglers that we have in the game currently, so taking that makes a lot of sense. Malrang also played really well in that last game. Pairing it with the Ornn, also pretty good, because now Rogue already has a really strong team fighting comp with two frontliners, hard engage and Zeri, who can try to take over from the backline.
Yeah, so they definitely have scaling this time, Rogue, which is good for them. They brought some scaling last game with Viktor, and now they're bringing it together with the Ornn and the Zeri. So the next thing now for in draft for me would be what do Humanoid play? Because I know Larssen has a lot of things he can play here. Blind on the blue side, he's good for his mages. But what does Humanoid play? I think you should look for something a little bit more spicy, maybe the Akali or something like that, but I'm not even sure if that's a good thing here. Because can you actually kill the Zeri? I guess if there's no enchanter, maybe you can actually. Yeah, I think something like Akali 5 here could be good for Humanoid.
I think it's also worth pointing out that now, because Rogue has already picked their top lane, Fnatic is most likely going to match top on fall, and then they have last pick for Humanoid, where, you know, he's going to have a lot of options available, but hopefully, if he does get the last pick, we're going to see something a little more spicy than the Orianna.
And I think this is good for Fnatic as well, because something in the last game was that top was a volatile matchup, so they had to put emphasis there. They lost the TP from Humanoid around level 6, and then the whole bot lane thing happened. So in this case, with Rogue picking Ornn, that solves top lane being a volatile matchup. And now all of the emphasis could be put on the bot lane instead, and Humanoid's pick on 5. I have actually no idea what he's going to play, but I think his pick will be detrimental to this draft.
Could be. Karma's also banned out, so your
they actually steal the Viktor away.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
That's a legacy pick for him too.
But I still feel like Larssen is going to be happy in this matchup. I think Larssen will be happy playing Orianna against Viktor if he wants to go for that now.
Yeah, I think overall, like, these two guys are both known as control mage players, and it's one that can easily go either way, but now taking the Viktor, which clearly had the edge in the previous matchup, you know, Larssen takes the Orianna, and we'll see if the matchup goes the same way the second round.
Yeah, is it going to? Why are you okay with the Orianna now, but were you not before?
Because I think it suits Larssen much better than it suits Humanoid. I would much rather see Humanoid on an assassin, something proactive, something aggressive in the early game. By picking Viktor there, you not only give him the free Orianna matchup, but you also take away your last pick, which you would have had otherwise. I think picking top 1-4 would have made more sense, because you already see the Ornn as well, so you're not waiting for anything. You already probably know what you want to play.
Oh, well, that one is still open.
Yeah, he has played that before, actually, Trymbi, so it's some comfort, also still kind of an enchanter in a way. I think it's maybe the best you can pull out, because as I mentioned previously, any sort of melee champion to Sivir is a mistake. She just blocks whatever crucial spell you have, Nautilus Hook, Iona Q, and then it's just not so easy for you to play, so I think an enchanter is the correct option, but there's not a good one. So whatever is comfort for the player, in this case Trymbi, Soraka.
Now, it's worth pointing out that Fnatic, they don't have a much frontline in this game, they only have the Poppy, but GP is so good into Rogue's draft, because they have a lot of squishies where if Wunder gets an early lead, he can really shine and one-shot the enemy backline.
Is this going to be a story then about the top lane this time around or not?
No, I don't think top lane will be a matchup.
It won't matter again.
They will just farm up both of them. So I actually think GP is a good pick here because he has a free lane. But yeah, I'm not sure about the lack of front line here. Because if they by any means fall behind, they have no one to tank anything. They're just gonna die.
So, Rogue's draft preferred by my analysts?
I actually prefer Rogue's draft, yeah, and I think it plays more into how the series is going as well. Quite teamfight heavy. I think good matchup for Larssen in the mid lane, and they traded AD carries as well. The only one thing I would say is that they got the Lulu for no enchanter on the other side. So depending on how the Soraka goes, Fnatic might have a huge advantage in the fact that they have the enchanter and Rogue doesn't.
Yeah, so if Lulu gets ahead, if bot lane goes well, and especially if Wunder has a good start in the top lane matchup, he can turn into a monster, and he's one that I'm really going to look out for. I don't think they're going to play around him, but it's so important for Fnatic that the Gangplank gets ahead so he can take over later in the game.
Seems like there's a lot that has to go right for Fnatic. Quite a risky draft from their side, but from the side of Rogue, if they keep it stable early, in fact, even if they get an advantage, they should have very good cards for this game. 10 seconds away from me throwing over to our caster. So my analysts think that Rogue won the draft and has pretty good cards in this one, but of course we will not count out Fnatic yet. I'd love to know what my casters think.
And as we dive onto Summoner's Rift, I have to echo the sentiments of Sjokz. I'd love to know what our casters think.
Yeah, Caedrel, what do you think?
Well, we expected Fnatic to go for more of a playmaking mid. They've taken a Viktor instead.
We expected more of just a full team fight front to back comp from Fnatic if they do get pinched in mid and they are forced into the 4-5. But it's a bit of a weird one for me because they've ran back to the Trundle Poppy matchup, so the early game should play out similarly. But they've gone for GP, so again, no frontline really. But I think the power of Fnatic's comp comes from the amount of zone control their ults give, right? You think of Viktor ult and a GP ult, it's really hard for comp and Trymbi to step up. The problem is I think they can engage as Rogue, disengage after the GP and the Viktor ult are used, re-heal up as Soraka, then re-engage. So it's going to be a bit of a tough one. Fnatic don't have that much point-and-click engage CC. We'll see how this mid matchup goes on opposite sides, but I think Rogue's comp looks very well-rounded.
I would agree for the most part. I think the only wild card for me is how Gangplank can influence the Soraka. You already talked about the amount of zone control that Fnatic's composition has, but when I think about like GPL, Viktor W, the amount of space that they can create that can either be very annoying for the Soraka, because remember, you're sacrificing your HP every single time you try to support. So while I think in long, drawn-out fights it's very favorable for Rogue, I am concerned about how much threat this Soraka will be under. We'll have to wait and see. I think Rogue should feel pretty confident with what they've drafted, and we once again draw attention to the jungle matchup, because I'm looking at Malrang's start. He's going to path from bot up towards top side, and Razork is going to do the opposite. Now, you're quite familiar with diving Gangplanks early on. Do you think this is something that could happen with Ornn Trundle?
Yeah, easily if they can stack a wave, and right now it looks like they can. It depends on what happens on these next couple of waves. But I think 3 camps at the top here looks pretty good for Malrang. I agree, dive. Humanoid can't cover with TP. There's no world where he can TP in and save this dive. So Wunder's going to ward early for it, I have to expect. He's not actually going to go to... Yes, he is. He's going to ward early for this dive. I mean, so that's where we're going to keep our eyes. Top lane is where we should keep our eyes, because Razork will full clear and maybe go for a mid play. I don't think there's much bot plays to find, because of the amount of setup in Enchanter versus Enchanter. And Malrang's going to do blue. I think Odo and Malrang are communicating waves here. And you want to make sure you maximize jungle efficiency for the dive, so Malrang doesn't have to sit around for 10-15 seconds, right? So the ideal situation here is Malrang finishes blue, Odo crashes the wave, hits level 3, gets a chunk onto Wunder, then they look for the dive.
You can see Wunder trying to use these barrels to thin out the wave as much as possible. But there's level 3. Malrang going to be spotted on the wards. I think the good news here for Wunder is he's not going to get dived, as there is enough vision to spot him out. Malrang actually covering for the mid lane right now, making sure the Larssen can push this wave underneath the tower, look for a base himself. We can see Razork isn't too far away as he's looking to secure the walls.
I don't really blame Malrang for covering Larssen in the mid lane, because Razork has spent basically all of every early game trying to do things for Humanoid, trying to get him ahead. If you burn Orianna's flash early on as well, she becomes very susceptible to repeat ganks, and it's a struggle for her in that lane to survive.
Definitely is. So it's just going to be a crab trade-off. We saw level 3 last game. Actually, Razork went bot and got a kill for upset. Got double crab, yes, but there's going to be no kill on the bot side now. It looks like Rogue is letting the wave push into them, and I think Malrang's focusing on this top side. He's lane ganking top right now, so maybe he knows, knowing that Wunder's wave is now bouncing after hitting the tower, he's going to have to overstep to try and crash it. The ideal situation here for Odo is just trade HP as much as possible and then make Wunder think that he has kill pressure zone. And Wunder, again, smartly warding that push. Malrang won't know, so when he steps up after these minis die, then Wunder will spot him. So Wunder, really good play on the weak side for now.
Really good awareness.
Will be absolutely fine.
So I think actually when this minion dies, those range minions should focus Malrang. Yeah, and so now he knows. He's like, oh, I've been here all along. The minions give it away. Malrang backs away. Good positional awareness from Wunder to make sure that he wasn't killed, basically, on the top side of the map.
Look at the mini-map here. You can see the bot side vision that they have here, Fnatic. You can see it's just entrance, tri-bush, crab. There's even a lane ward as well. So a lot of vision for Fnatic bot lane early. Razork path is passed down there for a reason, and good presence of mind by Wunder to not get caught out on the opposite side of the map.
Timing here is good for Razork as well, because just as Wunder's able to TP back in, Odoamne hasn't had the opportunity to base yet. He's looking for a cheeky player with the wave in a pretty good spot, but of course that ward will spot him out, meaning that Odoamne is free to play it safe. As comp and Trymbi, arguably the most comfortable they've looked in the 2v2 all series. They've been winning out on a lot of these trades. Of course, one of the advantages that you do have with the sustain, they did have it last game with the Nami, but even then, Lulu and Zeri was able to push them underneath the tower. Malrang, though, has his eyes set on the top lane once again.
No ward. Wunder's full HP, though. Knock up connects.
Wunder chipped away there by the Biddle. Malrang looking for something. Frozen Domain coming down, the pillar used as well. Wunder does still have the flash, and will use it to escape any possible knock-up from Odoamne.
So the reality of both these drafts is Ornn GP, Viktor Orianna, Soraka Lulu, a lot of scale, right? No one really wants to do anything. It's only the junglers that can actually look for anything, because there's literally no setup in any of these lanes until 6. Maybe the Ornn can do something, right? So it's playing on pushing lanes, right? Rogue have a pushing bot, they want to keep pushing bot, jungle will match it, and Razork will try to shut it down. You know, when a top wave's crashing in, you can try to look to punish it. So the jungler's only windows in these first 10 to 15 minutes will just be bad wave states, mismanagement of waves, or inevitable wave bouncers that Malrang's just looked for, and Razork's just going to try to deny camps for that play.
Yeah, and Razork, he's been doing this pretty consistently all series long, and pretty much throughout playoffs, finding opportunities to steal away these jungle camps. He's doing a great job once again this game, finding small windows. Observers, if we have an opportunity, could we look at the top wave? Because the problem for Wunder is his wave state. And Caedrel was just talking about it. If deaths are going to happen, it's because of being on an awkward wave state. And anyone that's played top lane knows that this wave state really sucks. It's very deep into your lane, and you're basically forced to overextend if you want to clear it. The good news for Wunder is he does have his ultimate up to be able to clear out that wave, but also this wave is slowly bouncing back towards him. Yep. But it's that wave he then needs to be careful, because there's a real risk of getting dived, especially with Odoamne having that ultimate available. And while he hasn't gone back to base yet, of course, being on Ornn, he can choose to craft these upgrades. So Rogue in a very threatening position as this wave slowly gets closer and closer to Wunder's tower.
Will be slightly harder for Odoamne to truly control the wave now that he's gone the Balmy Cinder. Obviously, if you're in the midst of those minions, it's just going to free push towards. Sometimes we see Ornns go for something like a Warden's Mail first, especially into these AD matchups, but Barney's gives you a bunch of health. There's not a huge amount of AD you have to deal with early on. You know, Poppy magic damage, Viktor magic damage as well, so unless upsets in your lane as Odoamne here, you don't really have to think too much about that armor.
And we were talking about mid lane matchup being a matchup that's been played the most in LEC. This is the top lane matchup, which has been played the most of all LEC players. I think they're both first in Odoamne versus Wunder. I mean, they're two long-time veterans, right?
By quite a way as well.
By a big quite a way, right? So, and these are very comfortable champions that they play. You can see there, Odo Chachi, Odo Cabo. A lot of Odoamnes in this list, of course. But yeah, these are the two most veteran, most played against top laners we have.
I will say it's one game favored to Wunder in this 1v1 or in this top lane.
And it's one game favored to Larssen after the last game as well. So extremely tight, these solo laners in terms of their head-to-heads.
A lot of history on the board. And again, we talked about it last game. Obviously, Larssen was the shining star of it. I had this strong feeling that Odoamne was so vocal, keeping the team calm. He's such a veteran voice, and he is committed to winning. Wunder now low on HP, Razork is here to cover. Keep my eyes on the minimap once again, seeing movements on the map. The Herald is spawning in 3 seconds. Lulu is moving, decided not to. Comp on his way down towards the bot side of the map. Larssen's going to be handed over this blue buff. But right now, it looks like neither team looking to contest for this 8-minute Herald.
Yeah, Malrang's just trying to do Gromp right now to level up to 6. That's when he'll start to step into River, because Razork has a farm advantage. Malrang's been looking for more plays. Razork's been farming up. Fnatic now leaning towards the bot side. Maybe their idea here is real threaten the 4-man dive bot with a GP ult while you do Herald. So Rogue bot lane needs to be very careful here. They don't have any vision to work with. They see Malrang is on this Herald. They could do one more with mid.
Dive it? He can dive it.
Broxah coming out. This is the first knock-up. Looking for 2. The Brittle. Oh my God! It's a solo for Odo on Ornn.
And it's not just a solo kill. He's tower diving this last pick Gangplank on the Ornn. Odoamne, you talked about this veterancy from him. Just steps up, gets that 1v1 kill. Fnatic trying to respond bot side, but there's nothing to do here. They'll get themselves a Herald. Wow.
I mean, Wunder's so screwed because he's got the Rift Herald as well for Malrang. He could just take that to the top side and try and take that tower. Obviously, Odo not the guy that you really want to be funneling gold into in these situations. And Fnatic a little bit late here starting up this Dragon. Malrang already moving through mid lane.
Be surprised if they contest this. So Odoamne doesn't have TP, and because of Wunder's ultimate, it would put Rogue in a bit of a sticky situation. And remember, from their perspective, they just have to scale. Sure, losing the first Drake would not be ideal, but I think they don't need to force it. Instead, just clear out what vision you can, know that you have the scaling advantage, and know that you've got a pretty good advantage in the top lane as well. You had your doubts in the draft, Caedrel. I was skeptical because this Gangplank, repeated nerfs, many top laners told me that he's just too weak in the early game now. I mean, he can be punished, and the fact that you're getting solo killed by Odoamne at level 7 just goes to show how much hurt the champion has experienced.
I mean, look at that. Wunder just ticked over to level 8. It's a full level difference by Odoamne. He got 2 plates as well. In the top side after that first blood. So when you catch this wave, it's a 1,000 gold lead for a blind pick Ornn on 3, in which Wunder could have responded in many parts of the draft. So this is going to come back to bite them the later this game goes on, like we talked about in terms of scaling. For Rogue, top lane was an isolation lane where it's like, at best, go even. Yep. And now you're sitting at a point with a big CS lead, the first blood and the plates and the push, and that'll affect mid lane. It's a knock-on effect, dominoes. Now Odoamne can push out top, move towards mid, and Humanoid will be under a little bit more threat than he once was.
Of course, somewhat symbolic that Odoamne choosing to build the Frozen Fist first in this 1v1 matchup, as he is in a very comfortable lead. 1,000 is the gold advantage that he now has.
Hylissang's trying to farm his support item here. You do this all the time on a judge. It's like, please, I need the 20 gold, I need the 20 gold. In fact, he's going to get the whole plate as well.
So Rogue have swapped. They've put Odoamne bot. Wunder has flash. He might have to use it here depending on the pillar position.
No.
Wunder has TP as well to get back to this. Uses the flash initially. Now we'll have to start to back away. But we said that you didn't want to use the Rift Tower top because it would funnel gold into the Ornn. How do you rectify that? Bring Comp to the top side.
The beauty of it is Odo got 2 plates already, so this Herald Crash will kill the tower. This is going to be a full first blood tower to Rogue. They're going to push out top. We'll see if they can crash it into tier 2 or if Upset can hold the line and get a bit of wave clear in. And now Odoamne will happily push out bot, so really good macro coming here from Rogue. Fnatic yet to find a response.
Yeah, Upset is here to answer this top lane push, but the tower already down. 2,000 gold lead for Rogue in this early game. Probably the largest lead they've had this entire series. Even across playoffs, they've been struggling to garner early leads. Obviously, 3 games against G2 will do that to a team, kind of skews the numbers towards the negative, but Rogue in a very strong position right now.
And this is one of the rare occasions where we find Fnatic at an early game deficit. Throughout playoffs, they have been dominant in the early game. Trymbi has been spotted there, but do they know that Malrang is there?
Razork's on his way.
Observers, can we see what Fnatic sees right now? Oh, it's too late.
Right now, they see Malrang right in their faces. Hylissang flashes away. The Keeper's Verdict, Equinox stops it. The silence from Soraka means that Razork couldn't get the ultimate off, and because of that, Fnatic can't take any further action in that fight.
Hylissang, no flash, no ult. Look at that ward behind Fnatic as well. Their bot lane is in a situation 12 minutes in where they're losing 2v2, losing 3v3, and they have no tower to fall back to as well, so Rogue can push them into this tier 2. I think they need to break these lanes, maybe get their bot lane mid, have Humanoid in bot, get Wunder back on this top side or something along those lines, because these lane assignments are going to come back to bite them, as the Sivir just sitting on a tier 2 for the rest of the game just can't really provide anything, especially around dragon fights.
And when we think about Rogue, when they're at their strongest, it's when the laners get to play their lanes. Historically, Rogue has been a team that has always had strong laners that have either played for the jungle or the jungle has played for them. And being able to slow the game down like this, be able to leverage your lane prowess, you can see that they're, well, aside from bot lane, they're ahead in pretty much every department. And Rogue, they're in a very comfortable spot right now, and they're slowly building up these leads and slowly starting to suffocate Fnatic. And then it comes back to that, well, when it comes to the 5v5, who's stronger, the Analysts just talked about it, and we've also discussed with the when you look at the frontline difference and the amount of sustain that Rogue has, you just have to give the edge to the late game fights over to Rogue.
Yeah, and the only kind of way that Fnatic could force numbers advantage is the Keeper's Verdict, and we just saw the Equinox, the silence from Soraka can just deny that on the spot. We'll see if Trymbi can do that again in a more important, more pivotal fight around an objective where, you know, we saw last game Razork knocks Malrang away, secures the objective. Now they've gone back to standard lane assignments. We've got both top laners on the top side. Wunder has TP to join a dragon fight in the Unleashed teleport in 40 seconds. But I think Fnatic in a state like this might just have to give this dragon. I don't think there's really a reality where you can start to walk in here, especially with your Lulu not having flash. 1 TP from the one Ornn, it's going to be a bit of a tough task unless they can find a pick beforehand. Razork finds Malrang.
Malrang's done a really good job of actually marking Razork and making sure he hasn't been able to get into any of these plays. The pillar comes down, Razork backs away. He was looking down towards this bottom side because Comp and Trymbi are pushing in. And so far this game has been a bit of a plate diff for Rogue. 5 in the top lane. Upset though, looking for a little bit of chaser as Comp dashes across the wall. Yeah, 5 plates for Rogue in the top lane, a couple down towards the bottom lane, 1 in the mid lane. On the side of Fnatic, they've only picked up 1 out of a possible 15.
Fnatic struggling in this early game, and a lot of credit needs to go to Odoamne. Him outplaying Wunder in the 1v1. He's done wonders, no pun intended, for Rogue. The crowd though, looking to send their energy to Fnatic. There are a lot of Fnatic fans here in Malmö. And I think that the faith is still strong. The dragon spawning 2 seconds time, Fnatic are first on the objective.
Yeah, it looks like they do want to contest. Razork's just trying to force Malrang out of this entrance, and Rogue are trying to force midwave.
Chase coming in, Larssen and Trymbi off towards the side as well. Razork from that Keeper's Verdict flashed away by Malrang. Chaos Storm chipping away at Larssen and Trymbi, forcing them away. Call of the Forge God finds 2. Comp trying to come in from the bottom side, but look how split Rogue are right now. Fnatic have control of the river, and Rogue are trying to play on 3 fronts.
They still have the Soraka ult and the heal, but I think at this point Rogue just say, let's go Herald, give up this dragon. Fnatic were first. I'm quite surprised that Rogue weren't actually able to secure this. They actually had bot push. Malrang was forcing Razork away, but it's Fnatic who find their way in, and Razork zoning Malrang, and the Viktor ult hitting 2. They're just way too poked, so they're just going to take the Herald.
Yeah, credit to Fnatic. So far this series, they have often been first on the objective. They've been very good at controlling these neutrals. Contrary to what we often see from them, sometimes they can struggle to secure things like first Herald, first Dragon, and they kind of contest the later ones, but regardless, Fnatic looking good. They now have 2 dragons. They have a very clear win condition now. With the Ocean Soul on the horizon, it's something you definitely don't want to give to a team with Soraka.
Fnatic did invest double TP to make sure that they could gain control of that river. We saw both Humanoid and Wunder using theirs to get down towards that bottom side. Because of that, obviously, Rogue will have a TP advantage for the next little while. We'll see how effective they are to use. Actually, Odo used his down towards the bottom lane, so they won't have a TP advantage anymore. My point is...
Well, I think the play for Rogue now is mid to bot. I mean, Larssen's pushed out top. He's going to go towards mid, force mid push, get this bot tier 1, which it looks like Odo might just get alone. And they have Herald for mid as well. So we're looking at a game state where Rogue might have 3 outer towers by 17 minutes if they can rotate their solo laners, bring them towards mid. This tower, a breath from dying. And what's Fnac's response? Looks like Wunder's going to push out top. Needs that GP ult if he wants to slow down any kind of siege. So for now, Fnatic managed to get the objective. They force Rogue off, but now it's back to holding on a bit and defending the lanes.
Odoamne doesn't want to overstay his welcome. He realizes that his team doesn't have the most vision on the bot side of the map. He will now spot out Razork, so that should give him a little bit more confidence. Malrang hovering around mid, Larssen top lane. No TP available for him just yet. Looks like Malrang just going to be a bit of a nuisance as with Humanoid here, the wave clear is far too strong for Fnatic. They're not going to concede this pressure. No objectives on the map to play for right now. It's just a bit of exploring, a bit of poking, a bit of prodding, seeing what they can gain. A bit of vision, maybe a bit of tower damage, maybe even a pick onto an enemy champion. Wunder returning to lane. He's the first one that Rogue will be looking at. Malrang hovering around the top side.
And I will say, I quite like Hylissang's itemization here as Razork looks for Malrang. We'll spot him as Malrang shadows Larssen up towards the top side. But I really like Sjokz Beautify first into a Soraka lane. I think it's a very intelligent purchase from the Lulu, especially since what else would you get? Well, a Moonstone's possibly for the healing across your team, or Shurelya's, and you don't really want the Shurelya's as Hylissang here because the rest of your team has so much movement speed and so much disengage and engage for you with the cannon barrage for those slows as well. So I like it from Hylissang. I think it works well in this composition, and we'll see how effective it can be at cutting away some of that Soraka's healing.
And Malrang building a supportive build as well, might go towards that redemption as well. Force of nature, similar kind of build we saw last game. So Odoamne's on a tank, not on Renekton. Comp and Larssen are so important in these fights.
Silence gets to flash out just in time. The Equinox was just a little bit short from the wall. Trymbi low, Comp up towards the side as well as Hylissang steps forward, looking for more. Wild growth on Hylissang to flash forward, but Hylissang, what on earth was that?
What? Did Hilly just try to flash knock up 4 people on Lulu?
Now onto Humanoid. Humanoid can't get away. Hylissang maybe thought he was playing Pike or something. He was just too aggressive as Razork dives in, but all of them still alive. There's no Chemtech. Odo, force low, Urset will take him, but Hilly was just way too deep.
Well, Fnatic still have the pressure despite losing the fight.
Hang on.
Stop him! Boom! Wunder's gun finds its mark and keyholes Trymbi.
Headshot by Wunder takes down Trymbi. What a messy fight. It started with Humanoid being caught, then Odo looked like he was caught. Hilly tries to flash knock up 4 people on Lulu when his team's in mid lane, and then Fnatic managed to somehow get a kill in return.
Hey man, if you can't love him at his best, you can't love him at his worst. You know what I mean? Like Hylissang, this man, let's have a look and see exactly what he tried to do here. Trymbi gets low alongside Comp with the damage coming out from Humanoid. The damage from the Gangplank ultimate is very good as well, and Fnatic is looking like to be in a great position. The gravity field comes through from Humanoid.
He ulted before the flash. Where's he going?
He flashed? I have no idea.
He's engaging on Lulu.
I don't know. I can't explain Hylissang. His mind is too complex for me. The silence as well to mitigate Humanoid's escape routes. But then you can see at this point, Rogue have overcommitted. Trymbi can't offer any more assistance. The damage from Sivir also kind of bleeding into everyone from Rogue means that Trymbi can't offer that heal to everyone. And then the one shot coming out from Wunder on the bush that was warded means that the fight's actually pretty even across the board. No objectives end up going out on either side. Hylissang, as confused as we are.
His comms are, just go guys, they're engaged.
Oh, Malrang knocked into the wall here. Chases on as Larssen looks for upset as well. Spell shield. Shockwave pulls him back to keep his verdict short once again, and Comp takes the kill. Ripped out was TP'd on by Odoamne to make sure that it couldn't get knocked back as well.
Yeah, really good TP there, really good spots by Medic, of course, and they're gonna look for this mid tier 1 with the Herald. Maybe they can threaten the tier 2. Sivir is so much of your wave clear, and they're trying to zone away Humanoid from stopping to get to this mid tier 2 in time. 30 seconds on the Dragon, that'll be the exit objective for Rogue, but they're not done here, looking for an engage.
All of the Forge God coming across, the second Withheld Charge coming in as well. 3rd HP on that tower in the mid lane. Razork looking for something once again, but it's only onto Odoamne, not ready to tanky his target. But he's quite tanky, in fact. Cannon Barrage comes down, forces Odoamne low, but look, Trymbi just healing him up over and over again. just blesses him with a little bit of a starfall, and Odo able to walk out of that one.
You can tell by player movement that Odoamne is one calling the shots. He's the one stepping up. They might look for Hilly again here as well. No flash, of course, comp.
Nowhere for him to go. The lightning crash comes out. The polymorph not enough. Equinox with the silence, wild growth just in time. Hylissang still alive, and Malrang slaps him over the back with a bat. And that's enough. Malrang now overstepped with the wish into the flash, gets Malrang out. The Troll King doing exactly that for Rogue. The chase still continues. Instead, they decide to back away and make sure they get this third dragon of the game.
Fnatic are just being bullied around the map as Rogue sees further control. The sustain from Trymbi is just too much for Fnatic to deal with. And with only 4 members alive, Razork does take a lot of damage, but will be sent to safety. Wunder's going to be forced back as well. Look at the poke.
Fnatic investing so much into trying to contest this. Razork stepping forward.
Is here.
Maybe they know that this is their only hope. Is they
Hang
get
on
the
a minute.
soul.
He has
Malrang
access.
now by himself in the pit. The subjugate coming down. They're going to try and kill Malrang before he can get onto the dragon. He's so low, but the heals over the wall. The astral infusion of life into Malrang. Keeper's verdict wide, and Malrang gets it. Fnatic put all their eggs in the basket.
He's still alive.
In this trade, and eventually they will only take Malrang's life.
Does Fnatic go towards Baron here?
Yes, they do.
Didn't get the dragon. Yes, they killed Malrang. They tried to get more. They wanted to commit. They TP'd in. Razork very low. They don't have any ultimates to work with. Hillys and Humanoids are up soon. This could be a play that decides the game with Larssen's ult coming up soon as well. They're committing 5 members for the Baron. 3 members of Rogue in base. No Hextech gates to take. Looks like it's just Larssen alone for the next few seconds to spot out the rest of Fnatic. The Blue Orb sees it. 7k HP.
Say a prayer to the Forge God, because Odo wants a piece of this action. He steps in, the knock-up, look at the Humanoid already taking one of the Baron. Secured by Fnatic, flash away by Ornn, flash away by Razork. Hylissang walks to the back of the pit and then realizes he doesn't have a flash to stand on. 3 kills over the Rogue, but Razork and Upset looking to get out alive as Comp continues to chase. Trymbi can heal him across the wall here, Razork stepping forward. Trymbi with the heals, the shields, the immortal shield bow as well. Ultra shock laser just wide, and has breath from taking down the jungler.
The back and forth do not stop. Fnatic knew they had to go for a Hail Mary Baron. That was their only chance when Malrang was dead. It took so long to kill him with the Soraka healing. Yes, they get a Baron. 2 members will keep that buff. Rogue will get kills. Rogue will get the mid-tier 2. What can Fnatic get done with this Baron? They might lose top tier 2 as well.
I mean, if nothing else, this will buy Fnatic a little bit more time, but Rogue looking confident. I mean, I'm curious if we get a replay or not. What happened to Malrang? Why did they just abandon him in the pit? I wonder if they were worried about the Fnatic flank that we saw coming through the choke point. But in any case...
Trymbi might TP, be engaged on here with a GP ult. They could
a lot of pings. But no, I think it's too much of an overcommit. Hilly, what Hilly?
He's got flashback.
He does have flashback. The question is, will we be having flashbacks to his previous flash? We'll have to wait and see. Upset. Going to clear out the wave. But it looks like we're slowing down. I'm expecting a replay to come up, but it seems that the action isn't slowing down.
They have Baron, they have a top wave coming in. They're just going to look for a siege here because Rogue's tempo is in the pavement. They stayed so long to try and get that top tier 2, and they were pushed away. Comp is in base. Wunder has GP ult, but Odoamne is trying to force. He misses the knockup.
Hylissang, a shockwave! Immediately, Hylissang is down. Quarter of the Portugal coming out. Odoamne just to disengage. The keeper's verdict will knock him away, but the tower will remain. Hylissang once again caught out by Rogue.
Yeah, 0-4 in this Lulu. Had flash, had ult. Didn't expect that amount of damage to come in, you have to imagine. And the positioning from the Lulu right now is slightly questionable, but the reason I think he's doing this is because Fnatic lack engage and he wants to chase them down, but he can't find any target. This is the dragon fight where Rogue gets split up a bit.
So it's this flank from Upset that comes in from the north that kind of scares, along with Humanoid's positioning, it kind of scares Rogue away from the fight. That gives easy access for Razork, but then Trymbi makes a smart call. He goes to the back of the dragon bit and then it's heal, heal, heal. Malrang, he's confident enough to actually keep the trade going, sidesteps the knockback from Razork, full health by the time that the dragon is secured. And Trymbi does what he can, but there's no way for Rogue to really get back into the pit. Good awareness from Fnatic to then immediately go towards the Baron.
Yeah, Trundle passive from the Dragon with the smite was that massive 950 heal as well. And because all of the members of Rogue were so low from that Fnatic, Fnatic went for the opportunity for the Baron. And it's going to wear off soon, 30 seconds left. They didn't even get that top tier 1, but it's denied from Rogue, so it slows the game down a little bit more.
So let's take a moment with a slightly slower game to take a breath and reevaluate where we are. There's a 3,000 gold difference between these two teams. Fnatic have 2 dragons to 1. They took the last Baron, they got minus 600 gold out of it. So perhaps not the most effective use of their time, although they do manage to stop Rogue from taking that. Where are our expectations for the next few minutes of this game?
Well, it looks like Malrang's looking for a flank, so I'll hold my breath for a second. The expectation for Rogue is this top tier 2. Mid push into top, and Razork has no flash, so they want to force Fnatic back and try to get that tower and keep the pressure on before this dragon spawns. Fnatic's idea here is just slow it down. GP, Viktor, Sivir, Lulu, these are such high damage threats with the buffs they get from this supportive champ. With a slight front line of Razork, if they can get to 4 or 5 items, they will do bonkers amounts of damage that Trymbi won't be able to heal through, you have to imagine, depending on how the fight goes. So as much as it's good for the game to slow down for Rogue, I think getting Infinity Edge on GP, getting Infinity Edge on things like the Sivir and the Odoamne, it doesn't hurt Fnatic either.
And it all comes back to the draft. This Ornn pick for Odoamne has been instrumental for Rogue. It was he who was able to tower dive, find that solo kill onto Wunder. They allowed them to secure the Rift Herald. They rotated their bot lane to top. They accelerated comp. Larssen was comfortably farming in the mid lane. Like, Rogue have just had firm control consistently throughout this game, and now it's about whether or not they can close this one out, because this is Rogue's game to lose.
And you can tell how much control they've had because they have yet to lose a tower in this game. Never mind tier 2s, tier 3s, they are in total control of those neutral standing objectives in the map. Only the Dragons really going over to Fnatic, and 9 seconds on the next as we see the first ornament coming out. Luden's Tempest upgraded into Luden's Hurricane, or some other name that you can make up for yourself if you want. Hurricane sounds good to me as the Dragon started by Rogue. Fnatic on the other side of the map will not contest the 4th Dragon of the game.
A lot of breakpoints coming through here. Larssen very close to that. Rabadon's death cap. Wunder just picked up the IE. How far is upset from the Dominics? Humanoid's going to push in top, really far behind against Larssen right now, itemization-wise, who will have the Rabadons in base very shortly. So it's going to be on this next Baron where the majority of the game is decided. Can Rogue just start it up and force Fnatic to walk in, use the Ornn ult, get the Lulu flash, make them have to use GP ult to check? They don't have as much side lane threat now that Larssen's used his TP to catch the wave. You know, we see prior game in game 2 where they put a ward behind Wunder. If he oversteps, they TP behind. That threat doesn't exist anymore, so maybe Fnatic's confident in pushing out bot, or maybe even confident looking for a similar play of their own.
Fnatic, for the time being, they're forced to play the defense. They're very far behind on itemization. You just look across the goal differences and you can see 2.4k in favor of comp. Full item ahead, and with the death cap soon being completed for Larssen, he'll be in a similar position against Humanoid. Rogue, this is a team that many expected to get demolished by the rising Fnatic. They're run through the lower bracket, looking to emulate what we saw from them last year. The Rogue have been able to bounce back. They've solved the draft problem, it seems, that so many of us were concerned about. And it's Fnatic that find themselves, now it's Fnatic that find themselves in the back foot. Of course, Fnatic have been in this position before. They're no strangers to being put in the last moments. The final fight, and with the Baron spawning in 11 seconds, that could very well be it. Level 16 for Wunder. Humanoid getting closer and closer to that. It'll all likely come down to a single fight as the Baron makes its way back onto the Rift.
You can see Rogue trying to get control of this top lane wave. Larssen walking over ward there, won't really care too much, wants to push this out so that the rest of his, so that Fnatic have to answer on the bounce, and then they have time in the river here. That ward isn't TPable too, so although it does matter that it spots Larssen, it doesn't matter so much that it could be a flank position as the, I believe, Mexican wave is going around the stadium right now. I will say 12 kills in 28 minutes. I don't blame the fans for going for a bit of Mexican wave, but we can promise you perhaps a little bit of action in the next couple.
It builds up to an explosive team fight, these scaling comps, and that one is yet to come. Fnatic trying to contest vision around this top side, trying to get mid-wave in so they can deny these pings from Rogue. Odoamne pushing out the bot side. Wunder has grouped up. Fnatic have the numbers advantage. Larssen's going to push out top, both side lanes, collapsing into Fnatic, who now have used their turn to look for small vision that they will now have to catch. It's on Rogue whether they want to start it up. It's on Rogue when they want to start it up. And it's on Fnatic to find their way in when that does come to happen. And now with this mid push coming in, these wards are buying so much time for Fnatic around.
Hilly actually doing a classic Hilly as well here. In the back of the pit, there is a normal ward with a control ward placed under it, which sometimes tricks teams into thinking there's only a normal ward in there. If you put a control ward in there, you see the normal ward disabled, and you don't always realize there's a control ward under it. Rogue should realize, but it has cost people in the past. As Malrang's knocked into the wall here, Wunder fighting off towards the bottom side. Malrang still very healthy as Razork tries to contest his red buff. Will be able to smite it away and secure it, but that means it smites down for, 10 seconds or so. And Rogue could look just to start up the Dragon. We'll see. Now, okay, they clear both wards. Yeah, cool. Good job, Rogue.
I think Rogue want to start this soon. They must press tab here and see Humanoid items and say they have a breakpoint coming soon on Rabadon's on a level 16 Viktor. It's better for us to force now so that he has to take the fight at a disadvantage at a point where it's not so optimal for him. But it looks like they're just going to back away. The ornament's coming through level 16.
Actually give it over to Trymbi.
Yeah, Enchanter one's really strong. It's going to upgrade the Moonstone. And, I mean, yeah, just a bit of a waiting game. I mean, Rogue, question is, will they secure this Dragon very easily? As they did on the second one, they just took themselves. I think the answer is yes. Fnatic just slowing it down a bit.
330 gold for Humanoid, rather.
Wait a second, though. Comp is sitting on 2.5k right now.
Yeah.
He's in a pretty strong position.
He's about to spend it, though.
Get a Bloodthirster. Very possible for him.
I think he's a little short. Oh, no, he's just got enough.
There we are. So 4 items on comp. Upset sitting on only 3. Has been a battle of the AD carries through the course of Rogue and Fnatic's playoffs runs. But this series more a battle of the mid lanes. This game, Larssen winning out so far, 2-0-5 on the Orianna. Rabadon's on its way for Humanoid, as you said, Caedrel, but with still a minute left on the Drake, it actually feels like Rogue willing to wait for both those big neutral objectives to be on the map before they start anything up.
What I will say is Wunder on this Gangplank, while he has struggled this game, there is a lot of damage at his disposal.
Oh, yeah.
Infinity Edge completed. A single good barrel could be game-changing, and I will say that I think Rogue maybe have slowed the game down a little too much. I think Fnatic being given time is a very comfortable spot for them to be in. I'm sure that they'll be happy to give over this Drake. They could even threaten the Baron right now, at the very least get some vision control around that area of the map. Malrang concerned about flanks. He sweeps some of that out.
It's going to be a mid-wave contest once again. 10 seconds on that Dragon. I think you're right, Vedius, with Upset going towards this top wave to catch it and push out. Maybe he's calling that he wants Infinity Edge before anything kicks off, and they're going to fight the Soul Point Dragon rather than this one. Not in the best of cases, but Wunder's just finished 4 items, and like you said, 1 barrel combo can melt through the front line of Rogue. Of course, the Trundle, perhaps, maybe not so much the Ornn, but of course the carries will just die instantly, so they have to be very careful. And with Rogue being on the bot side, Razork can get this top side vision. It's been about roughly 10 minutes now of a slow game, but level 18's coming through on the Orianna. Larssen was obviously playing the opposite side of this matchup and got the better hand of Humanoid, and again, in this control mage meta, not meta so much, but in this control mage series meta of trades of Orianna and Viktor, it's where Larssen is finding the most comfort. When the game is slower, Rogue find the most comfort. Fnatic don't have the champs to be as explosive as they were in game 1.
Let's not forget, though, when Humanoid was on Mad Lions and he made the reverse sweep happen against Rogue, it was his Viktor who was instrumental in allowing the series to turn around. We know that he can play these control mages. One of his biggest strengths has been his versatility as a mid laner. And he's definitely playing very well in today's series. Both teams find themselves at 1-1. The Viktor will, of course, move into tomorrow's series against G2, who are lying in wait. The reigning champions of Europe. Both teams looking to get their revenge. Fnatic for historical reasons and to reclaim a title. It's been a while for Fnatic and for Rogue to claim revenge after their recent 3-0, and G2, who's an organization that has often stopped them on their road to securing a championship.
Yeah, and for Odoamne, again, another title chase. We'll see if he can lead his team, which he has done so well so far in this series. You can see by the way he's playing the game, he's the one in the front line, he's the one calling the shots, he's the one forcing the towers when it comes to the Ornn. He's the one who's looking for that title. So, Fnatic, push back, Razork. Might be in a bit of trouble, but he's going to use the W to stop the Ornn from knocking him up. Fnatic trying to contest this push as much as possible, but the Ornn's going to come out.
Fortunate coming out, Keeper's letting knock him back, but still the knocker coming down. And there's the chase, and they're looking for the first kill. Wunder down. Those barrels won't mean much as Wunder is sent packing. Fnatic still trying to posture, trying to defend against the possible Baron from Rogue.
Wunder full glass cannon, he's full crit right now. He only has a shield bow as any kind of defensive tool, so if the carries of Rogue can get on top of him, he's as good as dead, and that's exactly what happened now. It's a 4v5 contest on a Baron, and they have no ultimates to work with, barring a defensive on a Hylissang.
The silence from Trymbi was so instrumental. Wunder didn't even get a chance to use anything. Razork, though, no flash. Can he get into the paint? He's not going to. That's a Baron for Rogue. Will they turn and fight? They're just going to disengage. Rogue secure themselves another Baron.
And they were very patient. They had 6-7 minutes of downtime before they started that up. They were waiting for spikes, waiting for levels, and Fnatic don't have the map state or the gold advantage to kind of force Rogue into a mistake. So it's Rogue who forced Fnatic into a mistake and trying to contest this push, pushing them back. And like I said, I think it's the silence or something that actually zones away Razork, and the knock-up actually lands before Odoamne gets knocked away. So there's not much they can do here. The silence is Wunder, sorry. The pillar comes through to push him back. And by the time he gets out of any CC, he's as good as dead. Humanoid tries his best to trade one onto Malrang, but does not have the damage.
And something Rogue have been doing so well is delivering that ball onto their target. Like, the Shockwave has constantly been a follow-up tool after an Ornn engage or after Malrang has run at someone, and it just allows them to catch people. Something we didn't see so much out of Humanoid's Orianna in Game 2.
And Comp is now sitting at 6 items on this Zeri, just picked up the Hurricane, has the Ornn upgrade as well, I believe. This Zeri will not really get stronger, barring an Elixir. So now they're going to siege on this bot tier 2. Odoamne has the TP, so he's holding mid-wave, where Fnatic want to get the push to try to, not base race, but trade a tier 1 mid for this bot tier 2, so he'll stop them in their tracks. Does Wunder ult on this wave is the question. I think the answer is no, the wave is too short, the wave is too thin. Pokes coming out, Rogue siege continues, Odo can TP in at the blink of an eye if his team gets engaged upon.
The siege is slow and steady. Ornn in the mid lane, not actually catching those 2 minions. He doesn't care, he's going to catch the next wave. These waves are a little desynced from Rogue. We'll see if it matters. Comp slowly chipping away. Trymbi taking a lot of damage there from Humanoid. Fnatic, they found a last-ditch fight.
Shockwave short.
As rightly said, the Shockwave now on cooldown. This gives Upset the confidence to step up, but there's a bit of a health advantage for Rogue as Trymbi immediately mitigates any damage that they have felt. But now you can see this disconnect between the mid wave and the bot wave means that Upset can clear 1 wave at a time, and Fnatic can hold the line for now.
Pressure on 2 lanes, 1-4 by Rogue. The objective here for them is this bot inhibitor, but it's also this dragon in 1 minute. They need to make sure they don't get caught or picked off.
Malrang caught a little bit by Razork, the subjugate down, caught the force got used as well, and now the chase begins. But Comp with a lightning crash, Wunder has to flash across the wall. Keeper's Blood is going to knock back 1, but Comp is on the chase, and Comp finds 1. Sends Wunder to Davy Jones's locker, and now he's trying to make it 2 as Upset's chased away. All of Fnatic retreating, and Comp the only one needed. He dives into the base, step out his own step, out his own state. Comp low, Immortal Shield Bow, heals him back up. It's enough for Comp, it's enough for Rogue. As after they lost game 1, they are having none of it. Rogue looking for match points.
Trymbi follows Comp into the battlefield and keeps him alive. The Soraka Zeri bot lane is going to send Fnatic to the afterlife, and we're going to be pushed into match point as Rogue will take down Fnatic.
Slow and steady wins the race. They have a very clear game plan coming into this, scaling front to back team fight. Don't get caught out, don't get lost in the chaos. And now Rogue are sitting at 1 game away from the finals tomorrow. 1 game away from locking group stage in New York at the World Championship. And it was a very clean performance by them. Didn't give Fnatic any options, no early game shenanigans going on. And now the question is, how does Fnatic change it up? They've run back this control mage versus control mage twice in a row now. Is it about time? They are the ones who choose blue side. They're the ones who look for these aggressive mid lane picks like Sylas or Ahri to make it so they can be the ones being aggressive in these early stages.
That is the question for Fnatic. For Rogue, though, only question on their mind is, can we do that 1 more time? They are on the brink of a finals matchup versus G2. It's what we saw in spring. Obviously, G2 had the better of them there. But I think a lot of people were wondering who can stop the steamboat that is Fnatic through this lower bracket. And Rogue right now are putting on a hell of a show.
And they have a bit of a buffer now. Even if they lose the next game, there will be an opportunity for them to bounce back. They will then even get side selection if it's game 5, but Rogue seem to have found the formula. We thought it was all about the jungle bans, but Malrang is saying, you know what, I'll take this trade. If you're going to keep giving me Trundle, I'll take it into your Poppy. And then everything else is actually centered around the mid lane to make sure that Larssen can have the best possible matchup.
And they could also look to just go into now this 1 game away, play something like the Senna Seraphine or something very different that Fnatic haven't played against to just lock in a cheesy, like a best of 1 win to get them to the finals. Or just stick to your guns.
Yeah, we'll see if that's what they decide to do. We're going to hand it over to Sjokz, who's standing by on stage to break down that game.
On stage, indeed, because a big occasion calls for a big location. And I'm just going to throw that question that I heard there. Can Rogue do it 1 more time? To my panel, all of you have effed up your predictions, which does happen sometimes. And you, my sir, Broxah, the most of all, because you are very confident about a 3-0 for Fnatic today. Can Rogue do it 1 more time?
I think now more than ever here in playoffs, we need to see from Fnatic that they can actually adapt, because I really like the way that Rogue are approaching these drafts. They're finding, you know, curveballs that they keep throwing at Fnatic, and they've definitely come out on top in that regard. So I think it's really up to Fnatic to showcase that they can do something different, because otherwise Rogue is just going to win.
Definitely so. So let's start with Rogue then. Rogue were the underdogs coming into today. They were the bigger underdogs after game 1, Rekkles. But what a remont they have pushed forward here after game 1. Game 2 and game 3 definitively. What has changed about this Rogue?
So I think in game 1 they really tried hard to find a draft where they could be proactive and failed in doing so. Game 2 they brought some more scaling in with Larssen's Viktor, and here in game 3 I think they're full-on scaling. That's pretty much the only thing they're looking for. And Fnatic kind of played right into that. They picked 3 carry champions, no frontline, and no proactivity whatsoever. So that then allows Rogue to scale as much as they want. They could basically do whatever they wanted this game, and I think that just suits them more. I would like to see a more aggressive Fnatic than this waiting and seeing if Rogue makes a mistake.
Because it also just feels like that Rogue has suddenly eased their way into this series. They've gotten more and more comfortable as the more game we've had. All of a sudden, Malrang started being more proactive in himself. This game specifically, they just got 2 Rift Heralds for 3. No one was really contesting them, which I guess goes back to what you're saying as well, with not so much aggression coming out of Fnatic. So I think Rogue, they're feeling in a really good position, and suddenly it's up to Fnatic to find an adaptation that matters, because this one with picking red side, that was not the adaptation you was looking for.
So much the script has been flipped, right? We were talking about Rogue, forever the bridesmaid, never the bride. Now they are on the brink of shutting everyone up, not just for this year, but all the years that the fans have said that they couldn't do it, Broxah. It would be monumental, right? But maybe, just maybe, that stress will get to them.
Well, you never really know, because Rogue has been on the brink of going all the way so many times, while Fnatic have shown already here in playoffs that they can, you know, be down even 0-2 against Ixil and still come back. So anything can really happen at this point. I would like to see Fnatic pick blue side just to change it up, approach the draft completely differently, and then go from there, because then I think we got a very exciting 1, potentially 2 games on our hands.
But I'm hopeful for Rogue. I'm already impressed with the fact that after losing that first game, it wasn't just a 3-0, because I really thought that it was going to be in 3-0 when I saw that, but I think it's super impressive that they've been able to fight this thing that they've obviously been dealing with for a while, and now suddenly making this very much competitive to the point where they're at match point.
Yeah, and I think this game was the perfect Rogue game. You have the weak side top lane, you have Trymbi's kind of spring enchanter feeling again, where he's picking up something that other teams are not playing. Larssen on his mage matchup, Malrang controlling the game. So if I was Fnatic, I would try to break this system. I don't think going for no frontline, no proactivity is the way to go. You have to put Larssen in a harder situation than the one he's in now. He's playing Orianna against Viktor and then Viktor against Orianna, and I feel like go for the Akali, go for something more aggressive if you're Humanoid, and actually try to force Larssen to make mistakes, because if he's just playing his own game, he's good enough to win these games.
He's happy with that Orianna. Give it to him every single day of the week. Let's then look at Fnatic and maybe things that have been lacking then so far this series outside of game 1. Razork was all the talk coming into this. Is there something to say about how he's approached these early games, or has that just been a team detriment?
It's hard to say if it's been Razork not being able to find openings, or if it's Fnatic not setting him up to success. I think it's a bit of both, really, because the truth is that Fnatic has needed Razork to show up to be successful this split. And now that he hasn't been able to have any impact, really, in any of these games, it's been going a little downhill.
But I also think it's a little awkward with the fact that it's panning out, right? It's not necessarily because he's got a lot to play for. You got the GP on top side, you got his control mage in the mid lane, you got an AD carry that's just 2 scaling aspects. So having Poppy here, I don't really think he was put in a position where whatever he did was really going to matter.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think the Poppy here is a mistake. You play 3 scaling lanes with no playmaking whatsoever, so the Poppy is on her own, and she also is not really blocking any dashes. They were only playing the Ornn and the Zeri, which neither is really pivotal for the game. So then it would have made much more sense to take the Trundle away, or to go for a more aggressive approach in the top lane or in the mid lane.
I thought you wanted to answer.
100% agree was just what I wanted to add, but then I was like, you know what, there's no need for me to say that.
You're allowed to agree, why not? You don't always have to disagree on the desk. Let's talk about the bot lane as well, because it was such a big function, or a big focal point, rather, coming into this Rekkles. Comp has put on quite the show, I want to say, so far. Was that expected with the picks you've seen? Because we talked before about the only way the Rogue bot lane can make a difference is if they spice it up. They have to a certain point with the Soraka, but it seems just a little bit in these last 2 games as a comp diff.
Yeah, I think especially in game 2, he picked up some steam around 18-minute mark, and he kept on dashing throughout the game, and he kept getting good pokes, and I feel like he got kind of into it at that point, and now this game they brought out the Soraka. I think they played really well together. I'm still surprised with how many unforced errors Fnatic are making, because I feel like at some point in this game, they slowed it down, but it was way too late. They should have done that earlier. There was one play where Wunder was farming top lane, and they were going for a river fight on the bot side. Upset dies. In that scenario, I think you should earlier make the call to just farm it out, play 3 lanes, try to get economy on all of your carries, because in the end, you're playing a no-engage comp. So if you are behind, you have no control over this game.
And especially while playing something like the Sivir, it's not like Upset can really do anything early on. He relies on his teammates to set him up for success and bring him to the stage of the game where he has 3 or 4 items and where he can really make a difference. But with people getting called out a lot, Hyli, Razork in particular, with the comp just not giving them any agency to make any early game plays happen, you know, Upset hasn't really been given a chance to shine. And then in some of the team fights where he could have, he didn't play them too optimally.
It didn't really work out. Now, I want to go back to the top of the day when we talked here about the big stories coming into this, and I have 2 players here who know what it's like to play on a Fnatic with the backs against the wall, and we talked about their clutch factor and the fact that they can turn things around. Now, the last time they were in this exact position was 2 weeks ago versus XL. Martin, what do Fnatic have to do in Game 4 in order to give us silver scrapes?
I think a place to start is choosing blue.
Yes.
And then after that, maybe playing a more aggressive bot lane or aggressive mid lane or aggressive anything. Now that you're blue, you could drop the Kalista ban, for example, and play the Kalista first pick. Ban the Draven out so that comp doesn't have a good counter. Or maybe go for a more aggressive approach in the top lane. Because I think this slow and steady approach, too slow and steady approach, is playing right into Rogue. That's where Rogue is at their best. So put some pressure in the bot lane, draft something more aggressive, try to go for an early game invade, try to get a Razork behind your tower and yeah, go for a dive or something crazy.
They are on blue.
That's perfect. But you know, it's so interesting, right? Because even though they're on blue side, with the way that the draft panned out just before, it wasn't necessarily because you were unhappy about the first 3 picks. Now you're put in a position, if you first pick Yuumi or an AD carry, on the opposite end, they are going to pick the Trundle, and then all of a sudden Ornn and Sejuani won't make as much sense as they would before. So I think for Fnatic, if they really want to make the difference, it still comes down to those 4 and 5 pick for the solo laners, because the bot lane is fine no matter what you really play, but for Humanoid specifically, I think you need agency. Like if it's slamming a Kali or LeBlanc, when you get the choice just blind to really get something going from the mid, and you can pair it up with a mid jungle to get that early aggression, maybe that's the style Fnatic need, because that's what's so been successful for them.
And I think now that they actually have blue side, they're going to get one of the strong picks that can make a difference, like the Yuumi, like the Sylas, like the Lucian. I think that's really going to help unlock them. So already seeing that they chose blue side, yeah. I would say this is a miracle run angle, if I've ever seen one.
Is this a miracle run angle? Broxah believes in Fnatic, but it is Rogue who are on match point, looking to get that rematch final versus G2 tomorrow. We'll see if we get brought the silver scrapes with Game 4 after this.